What's going on, everyone? I'm Ray with Inviri Studios, and this is the start of a series in which I give my thoughts and opinions on all the games that have caught my interest or that I've been collecting dust on my backlog. I wanted to start off with the Yakuza series because I got a close connection to the games. Starting off with Yakuza 0, it became one of my favorite games of all times due to its intriguing story, interesting fighting mechanics, and all the amazing side stories and minigames. Of course, everything I say in this review is my own personal critique of the games, and these reviews aren't meant to really be reasons why you should give these games a chance, but more my personal connection towards the games, what I enjoyed or disliked about it, and my final thoughts on the games as a whole. So, let's get started with my review. My introduction to Yakuza was from watching the Gaming's Bridge show's discussion about video games box art and how the box arts can best represent the essence of a game. From there I was led to another video by the same channel talking about Yakuza 0's first level, and just watching the different fighting styles and the numerous heat moves completely caught my attention, and I had to give the series a chance. After doing my research, I saw I was way behind with Yakuza 1 through 6 already released and Kiwami 2 coming out later that year. So I decided to start where I was able to and began my experience with Yakuza 0, but this video isn't about my experience with Yakuza 0, it's about my experience with Yakuza 1. I had vague knowledge about Yakuza 1. Coming from Yakuza 0 and not having a PS2 to play the original game, my only chance to get a sense of the story was by watching gameplays and walkthroughs. Until I realized weeks later that it was a complete remake of the original game using Zero's engine, so I got my hands on Yakuza Kiwami, and after months of it collecting dust on my drawer, I decided to give the game a try, and it became my first experience with the original game's story. In comparison to Zero, I was not as invested into the world, the minigames, or even the side stories, and something always felt off about the game, whether it was a lack of 80s vibe, a single playable character compared to Zero's 2, or if it was the inclusion of Majima everywhere. But playing Kiwami felt more like a chore rather than an addictive experience. Sometime after completing Kiwami, I got my hands on almost every entry in the series and decided to review every localized entry to see how the series evolved from a small action beat 'em up to one of Sega's greatest IPs.
Just your bad luck to have run into me.
The story of Yakuza 1 is about Kazuma Kiryu, the Dragon of Dojima, a well-respected member of the Yakuza climbing the ranks of his clan until he takes the blame for the murder of the head of the family. This leads Kiryu to serve 10 years in prison while his friends and former clan change for the worse. Kiryu is released from prison and is quickly caught in a conflict within the Tojo clan after the clan's 10 billion yen is stolen. Throughout Kiryu's journey figuring out what happened, he meets a young girl who holds the key to solving the conflict and dedicates himself into protecting her from those who will do anything to get the money. That's as much of the story that I'll discuss, since there are twists and secrets revealed throughout the game that every player should get a chance to experience for themselves. Yakuza follows a formula of Japanese tourism simulation and action beat 'em up, alternating between the two and mixing numerous minigames throughout. Starting with Zero and going back to the original, I'm amazed to see how many of the mechanics I enjoyed in Zero actually started in the original game. At the start of the game, combat is a little clunky with only one main combo and limited heat moves to use, but as you play and upgrade, there's this noticeable sense of progression as Kiryu becomes a one-man army fighting against the house. There are two main ways to upgrade Kiryu. The first is with experience points earned through random fights, sub-stories, story missions, and completing activities throughout the city. The second way is by training with Kamaki, a martial arts master who teaches Kiryu more refined combat moves and defense techniques. Combat throughout the game always stayed engaging and entertaining, always making me want to explore new avenues and ways to beat down everyone challenging me, and by the end of the game I developed a system of personal combos I enjoyed using. Outside of fighting thugs and punks, Kiryu explores the city of Kamurocho, going to local restaurants, bars, batting cages, and even checks out massage parlors. Exploring Kamurocho with a fixed angle never bothered me, and neither did the long load times between the different areas. I personally enjoyed the fixed angle and felt it helped to make certain areas more memorable, allowing me to travel around the city with ease. There were times in which I challenged myself to get from one point to the city to another without using a map, just to see if I had a good sense of this fictional world. Within Kamurocho there are many games such as claw machine, hitting home runs, gambling, and underground fighting. While traveling across the city you can run into certain NPCs that'll trigger side stories, small stories revolving around certain individuals within Kamurocho. These side stories are great at fleshing out the city and the small world within it. It gives Kamurocho a sense of realism, showing that there are people within this world with their own stories exclusive to the main narrative surrounding Kiryu and the Tojo clan. These side stories are also a great way to flesh out Kiryu's personality, since it gives us a sense of his personal beliefs and morals in odd situations that may or may not relate to his former life. I actually want to take a minute to talk about Kiryu as a character. At the start of the story, he seems to be a tough and loyal Yakuza member, but as you continue on, you realize his motivation and ideals. He is a man who values those close to him, those he views as his only family, and will do anything to figure out what happened to them. Kiryu isn't violent by nature, but uses violence to defend himself and his ideals. This contrast can be seen by the other members of the Yakuza. Most of them are plotting and fighting against each other for the chance to be head of the clan, using violence as a method to get what they want and establish dominance, whereas Kiryu established his dominance through defense. As a player, we are Kiryu, and we need to fight in order to progress in the game, but from a story element, we are adding on to Kiryu's legend. Kiryu is known as the Dragon of Dojima, a legend in the Yakuza world, known for beating all those who challenge him. His reputation as a patriarch killer only adds to his legend, since he lives to fight another day, overcoming battles after battles, all in search for the truth of what happened to his family. Kiryu overcomes numerous trials, both physical and mental, throughout the game, but he maintains himself throughout it all, not only showing his physical strength, but his mental and emotional strength as well. In the end, Kiryu became a protagonist that I connect with morally, and I wanted to see him succeed in his journey. I played Yakuza on a PS2 with an HD TV, so the visuals and sounds were improved in comparison to an older model TV. Personally, I felt the sound design for the fights were well made. All the sound effects for the punches, kicks, and heat moves added on to the effect of the battle and made each move feel powerful. For the original game, Yakuza 1 has a pretty good soundtrack, whether it ranges from the in-battle theme, boss music, there are songs that'll stay in your head for hours. Since I played the localized English dub of Yakuza 1, I had to listen to the unnecessary cursing and an altered translation of the original dialogue. Although the dub isn't the best version of the game's dialogue, some of the characters' voices did complement the characters themselves, specifically Kiryu,
When you don't pay your debts, I'm what you get.
Date,
This guy's a big shot who's trying to start his own family. He doesn't have money problems. He's covering for someone.
Nishiki,
Yeah, right. So what's the deal? You starting your own family?
Haruka,
It's Haruka. That's my name. What's yours, mister?
and even the mad dog Goro Majima.
You're too kind. Kazuma-chan, too kind. We gotta make up for this. Ow! I should kill you. Stupid! Fucking motherfucker!
I feel like no Yakuza review can be complete without mentioning the only man whose legend rivals the Dragon of Dojima. For a small role in the game, Majima left an impact so powerful that he became a staple of the Yakuza's identity, obviously due to his character's involvement in the other games, but for the original, he still left a mark. His sporadic and psychotic moments made him a threat that every player was intrigued to see more of, and I'm glad that he was able to get more screen time and even a chance to become playable later in the series.
This is the part where you're supposed to laugh! Laugh, you stupid motherfucker!
Overall, I enjoyed my experience with the first Yakuza game and the many different mechanics implemented. For it to be the first game, it did implement numerous systems to keep the player engaged with its characters and its world. Whether it be the fighting, the gambling, or just reading about the liquor sold in the bar, there was something each player could find most enjoyable to bring them back to the game. I have to give credit to Toshihiro Nagoshi and his team for creating such a dense and interactive world that offered a sense of what it would be like to live in 2005 Japan. Although the combat was rough and too rigid at times, causing annoying game moments, it still offered an engaging experience as I improved the Dragon of Dojima skills. The story was memorable and intriguing, the side content could entertain me for hours, and if I had to choose between the original PS2 version or the Kiwami remake, I'd have to go with the original. Kiwami does add on to the story and help fill potholes, but I feel like the original allows some mechanics to flow more smoothly, as well as certain story elements. Also, if I wanted to play the games in order again, it would be less disorienting and game design to start with the original than it is to start with Kiwami. It's always good to play both since you can get the complete story, but for future playthroughs, the original is better in my opinion. Thank you all for watching, and in honor of the first review, Inviri Studios is giving away a brand new copy of both PS4 and PS5 editions of Yakuza Like a Dragon. There are 3 ways to win. For the PS4 version, all you have to do is like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave any comment. Also, we will contact you through your YouTube channel, so if there is no way to contact you on your page, then your win may be voided. For the PS5 edition, all you have to do is follow our social media accounts, like our post, and leave a comment. By the end of the week, the winner will be chosen, and we will contact them. Thank you all again for watching, and we'll be back for our review of Yakuza 2.